Titled Parents Used My Wedding Fund for a Family Emergency. It was a luxury vacation. It all started a few months before the wedding, on an otherwise uneventful evening. I was in the middle of finalizing seating arrangements when my phone buzzed. It was my mom. The first thing I noticed was her voice. It was shaky, full of emotion. "Sweetheart, I have some bad news," she said, pausing as though she was struggling to get the words out. "We had to use the wedding fund. There was a family emergency." The words hit me like a freight train. My wedding fund? Gone? I didn't even know how to respond. "What happened? Are you okay? Is Dad okay?" My mind raced to the worst-case scenarios: health crises, sudden deaths, something catastrophic that would justify draining what we had carefully saved. "It's complicated," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "We'll explain later. Just know that we didn't have a choice." I tried to process the news, my emotions caught between worry and disappointment. I wanted to believe them. Of course, I wanted to believe them. My parents had always been supportive, or so I thought. I decided to give them the benefit of the doubt. Weddings could be postponed, but family was family, right? But as the days turned into weeks, things started to feel off. My calls to my parents went unanswered more often than not. When they did pick up, their answers were short, curt, like they were trying to rush me off the phone. I chalked it up to stress. Whatever this family emergency was, it must have been weighing on them heavily. Then, one evening, I was scrolling through social media when I froze. There they were, my parents, grinning ear to ear, basking under the sun on a pristine beach. My mom held a cocktail with a little umbrella in it, while my dad lounged in a chair with an ocean view behind him. Post after post showed them in paradise, snorkeling, dining at upscale restaurants, indulging in spa treatments. I stared at the photos, my chest tightening with disbelief. This couldn't be real. This had to be a mistake. That family emergency wasn't a crisis at all. It was a tropical vacation. They had used my wedding fund, not for something dire or unavoidable, but to pay for this. I felt my hands shake as I scrolled through their posts. The captions were full of glee. "Finally taking the time we deserve. Living our best lives in paradise." They weren't just unapologetic, they were flaunting it. Anger bubbled up in me, but even then, I wanted to give them a chance to explain. Maybe there was more to the story. Maybe they had won the vacation in a contest, or a distant relative had gifted it to them. Something, anything, that would make this betrayal easier to swallow. When I confronted them, though, their response left me speechless. "We deserved it," my mom said, her tone dismissive, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. "After everything we've done for you, we needed a break. You can always have a wedding later." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They didn't even try to apologize or justify their actions. Instead, they turned it around on me, making it seem like I was the selfish one for wanting to spend that money on my wedding. "Do you have any idea how hard we've worked all these years?" My dad added, his tone sharp. "We raised you, gave you everything, and this is how you repay us." Their words felt like a slap in the face. It wasn't just about the money, it was about the trust they had shattered. They had lied to me, manipulated me, and then tried to guilt-trip me into accepting it. But as I sat with my anger and hurt, I realized something even more unsettling. This wasn't the first time they had acted this way. For years, they had been using guilt and manipulation to control me, framing their actions as sacrifices for my benefit while subtly making me feel like I owed them. I started digging deeper into their financial behavior, piecing together things I had overlooked in the past. There were the loans they had asked for when I first started working, which they had never paid back. The times they had conveniently forgotten their wallets at restaurants, leaving me to cover the bill. The way they had pressured me into co-signing on a car loan for my younger brother, even though I could barely afford it myself. The more I uncovered, the more I realized that their entitlement wasn't new. It had been there all along, hidden under the guise of parental love and support. The wedding fund was just the latest, and most egregious, example of their behavior. I felt like my entire relationship with my parents was unraveling before my eyes. The people I had trusted most in the world had betrayed me, not just once but repeatedly. And now, I had to figure out what to do next. At first, I tried to reason with them. I explained how much the wedding fund meant to me, how it wasn't just about the money but about the dreams and plans I had built around it. But they refused to listen. "We've done enough for you," my mom said bluntly. "It's time you learned to stand on your own 2 feet." Her words stung, not because they were true, but because they were so far from the truth. I had been standing on my own 2 feet for years. I had worked hard to build a life for myself, to save for my future. And yet, they had taken it all away in an instant, with no remorse. That's when I realized I had a choice to make. I could keep fighting them, trying to win back their support and approval, or I could let go. I could stop seeking validation from people who clearly didn't value me the way I had always valued them. Letting go wasn't easy. It meant acknowledging that my relationship with my parents might never be the same. It meant accepting that the people I had looked up to and relied on for so long might not be the people I thought they were. But it also meant freeing myself from their control. For the first time in my life, I started setting boundaries. I stopped answering their calls when I knew they were only reaching out to guilt-trip me. I stopped feeling obligated to fix their problems or bail them out of their financial messes. And most importantly, I stopped blaming myself for their actions. As I distanced myself from my parents, something unexpected happened. I found strength in the people around me, my partner, my friends, even my future in-laws. They reminded me that family isn't just about blood, it's about love, respect, and mutual support. In the end, I decided to go ahead with the wedding, even if it wasn't the one I had originally envisioned. It was small, intimate, and perfect in its own way. I wore a dress I found on sale, and my partner's best friend made our cake as a gift. Instead of a fancy venue, we exchanged vows in a local park under a canopy of trees. It wasn't extravagant, but it was filled with love. As I stood there, surrounded by the people who truly cared about me, I realized something. My parents' betrayal hadn't broken me. It had made me stronger. Their actions had forced me to confront some painful truths, but those truths had also set me free. I no longer needed their approval or validation to feel worthy. I was enough, just as I was. And that realization was worth more than any wedding fund could ever be.